In recent years, the global financial system has undergone significant changes, many of which remain invisible to most people. The world economy, since the end of the gold standard, has been transforming in ways that many still do not fully comprehend. The concept of money, monetary policies, and financial markets have evolved to create a completely new economic landscape, one that is, for many, frightening. In this context, there is an urgent warning for those who wish to understand what is happening with money, banks, and currencies. What often seems to be just a continuation of economic cycles, such as inflation, recessions, and market stabilization, actually hides a deep manipulation of the global financial system that benefits a few and harms the vast majority. The financial system, with its apparent stability, has operated in a way that allows the creation of unbacked money, which inevitably leads to the devaluation of currency and the creation of an economic bubble that is about to burst. For many years, governments and central banks have followed policies that only benefit those with large capital and financial institutions that control the flow of money in the market. Economic history, with its various crises and cycles of growth and decline, has been merely a reflection of the true game behind the curtains, where a few, with enormous financial power, have manipulated the system to secure their own wealth and stability, while the masses face increasing difficulties and uncertainties. This system, highly corrupt and unsustainable, is on the brink of collapse, and what seemed solid is beginning to crack. We are facing an imminent financial crisis, but for many this is still a distant event, with no perception that we are, in fact, on the verge of a radical change. In this text, I aim to share a unique perspective gained through financial education outside conventional standards. Over the years, I have learned that the true way to understand wealth and financial systems is not in schools or traditional formulas, but in the careful observation of market movements, a critical reading of economic history, and most importantly, in constantly questioning what is being imposed. Schools teach us to work for money, but they do not teach us to question it, to understand the system that supports it, or to seek alternatives that can truly put us in control of our own financial freedom. True financial learning comes from the ability to look at the market with a critical eye, to observe the errors and failures of the system, and to act according to the new realities that arise, often much faster than we imagine. By understanding how the global financial system works and what the consequences of its failures are, you will be able to make much smarter decisions about where to place your money. Investing in assets like gold, silver, and cryptocurrencies, such as Bitcoin and Ethereum, is not a passing trend. It is a response to the increasingly evident reality that the traditional financial system, dominated by large banks and government control, is coming to an end. The transition to these new forms of store of value, like precious metals and digital currencies, is a way to protect oneself from the instability and failures of a system that has proven to be flawed in many aspects. Traditional currencies, such as the dollar or the euro, are losing their purchasing power, and monetary policies based on money printing without backing are leading to inflation and the impoverishment of the masses. Resistance to this transformation will be difficult for those who cling to the old system, but the truth is that what you do now, invest, understand the new forms of money, and adapt to changes, may be the key to ensuring not only your financial protection, but also your future growth as the traditional system collapses. This is the new American dream, the radical change that is about to transform the reality of an entire generation of young people, especially those willing to question the old ways of making money and achieving financial freedom. The transformation is already underway, and the big question is, will we be able to truly change the game? The answer, although it seems distant and difficult, is closer than we think. We are not alone in this movement. Technology is already pushing forward with irreversible force. With the emergence of cryptocurrencies and other financial innovations, the power to transact and control money is decentralizing, giving millions of people worldwide the opportunity to free themselves from the control of large institutions. Therefore, it is essential that the new generation prepares and takes advantage of these changes. Now is the time to act. Grab your gold, silver, Bitcoin, Ethereum, These assets are the new pillars that can guarantee a prosperous future in a turbulent global economic landscape. If you ignore this transformation, you may find yourself, in the long run, depending on government-controlled currencies, which will soon lose their real value. We are talking about a future where traditional currencies, such as the dollar, euro, yuan, or any other fiat currency, will lose relevance. The monetary system, as we know it, will disintegrate, giving way to a new era of financial control, where central banks and governments will have more power than ever. History shows us that money has always been a tool of control, and those who control the issuance of money control the nations. However, this new control will not be the same as what we have today. The game of the financial transmission system will change, and with it, a form of centralized governance will emerge, which could be seen as a transition to a model of central planning, that is, a more radical form of economic control, often compared to socialism or Marxism. When we talk about challenging central planning, we are talking about a financial system where central banks, reserves, and the treasuries of each nation are pieces of the great board of centralized control, a disguised form of socialism or Marxism. What many do not realize is that money, the dollar, the currency that circulates as payment for labor, has been the foundation of this control system. Those who control the currency control the economy, and by teaching future generations to work only to earn money without questioning the financial system, they ensure that centralized control continues. What we need to understand is that the system we were taught to follow, which encourages us to work only for money, is the same one that sustains the structures of centralized control. Centralized planning, in essence, is communism disguised as capitalism. The real issue is that, in the not-too-distant future, those who do not adapt to this monetary revolution will fall into the traps of this obsolete system. What is at stake now is not just how we work, but how our financial freedom will be shaped and controlled by those who ultimately control money and the system. You see, all of this is just an arm of the banks, an extension of what they control. And if you do not understand what this means, it's best to start paying attention because, frankly, this could mean that you are on the wrong path. I am against the banks. I am against the treasury system. And I am against austerity. I am not here to follow the rules of the system. I am here to question them and, if possible, bring them down. I am not a criminal activist, just someone who was educated differently. I was taught by a rich dad, someone who educated me on how to understand finances and how the business world really works. If you want to destroy capitalism, the best way to do it is to corrupt the currency. That's exactly what happened in 1971 when President Nixon took the dollar off the gold standard. That was a turning point. I was in my 20s, serving in the Marines, when my rich dad sent me a letter warning me, "Be careful, the world is going to change." I didn't fully understand at the time, but looking back, I can see that he was right. On August 15, 1971, when Nixon took the dollar off the gold standard, everything started to change. This was not just an economic change, it was a change in the very structure of the global financial system. And the consequences of this change have affected us in ways that we are still trying to understand. The financial crisis actually started back then, in 1971, when the ratio between U.S. debt and GDP hit 90%. That was already a sign that something was wrong. To put it into perspective, it would be like if you earned $10,000 a month but had $9,000 going to debt payments. That's already unsustainable. Now we have a debt of 130% of GDP, and projections indicate that this debt could reach 250% of GDP. What does this mean? It means that the U.S. government will have to print even more money, and this directly affects the value of the U.S. dollar. In fact, so much money is being printed that you don't even know what's real anymore. Money printing is not limited to U.S. dollars, but extends to the euro, Swiss francs, and many other currencies around the world. What matters is that all these governments are creating money out of nothing. And while this is happening, schools continue to teach us nothing about how money really works. Instead, they give us our paychecks and the gap between your left ear and your right ear, without ever teaching us how to actually make money. They teach us that we need to work hard for money, but they don't teach us the secret. You don't need money to make money. I stopped believing in the value of the dollar. and I stopped believing in the system that sustains that currency. That's why I started investing in gold, silver, Bitcoin, Ethereum, and other cryptocurrencies, all of which are assets that serve as stores of value. I no longer want dollars because, frankly, I don't believe in them anymore. I need something that really preserves and increases my purchasing power over time. This is what we call infinite return, an essential concept for those who want to build wealth sustainably. And that's exactly why I work, to ensure that my money works for me instead of me working for it. Meanwhile, the big banks continue to sink. Just last week, for example, one bank loaned $160 million. And the question that arises is, where did that money come from? The answer is simple. From nowhere. The bank just creates this money. They do it magically, using numbers and creating more debt. These numbers, these fake assets, are what are moving the system. But at the same time, they are real assets because at the end of the day, I don't have to pay taxes on them. This is capitalism in its essence, but a capitalism that is bankrupt, corrupt, and distorted. So what does all this mean? It means that, contrary to what many think, this system does not work for everyone. The game is rigged, and those who control the global financial system are the ones profiting, while you and I are left behind. Change is imminent, and that's why I am making this warning now. The only way for you to protect yourself from the collapse of the current system is to understand these dynamics and start acting intelligently and strategically. Looking to the future, it is impossible not to notice that the global landscape is inevitably shaping itself, and changes are happening faster than we imagine. We are in June 2021, and personally, I am accumulating large amounts of gold, silver, Bitcoin, and Ethereum. The reason is simple and clear. I am preparing for a moment that I believe is getting closer, the day when the traditional financial system, as we know it, will be destabilized and eventually collapse. We are facing an irreversible transformation that will affect not only global economies, but also the way we deal with value exchange and wealth. In the future, you will wish you had these assets, gold, silver, Bitcoin, and Ethereum, stored somewhere safe, because in my view of business and investments, these are the fundamental pillars that will ensure a certain stability in an increasingly unpredictable and turbulent global financial scenario. The reason I'm accumulating these assets is strategic. Gold and silver have been storehouses of value for millennia, withstanding all economic and political crises. Bitcoin and Ethereum, in turn, represent the ongoing digital revolution, a way to preserve value outside the control of central banks and governments. These assets are not only protecting me from inflation, but also positioning me for a future where digital finance and decentralized assets will play an even greater role. Technology is evolving rapidly, and in the future, it will take strategic positions in society, even replacing entire professions, such as drivers, and challenging the very traditional currencies we use today. While I expect this transition not to happen abruptly, the probability of a radical change in financial systems and the job market is extremely high. The world is indeed changing before our eyes, and my intention here is simply to alert to these ongoing transformations. Looking at history, we see that the greatest disruptions in financial markets have always occurred when new technologies emerged and altered established paradigms. This is nothing new. Over time, technological innovation has been the driving force behind the most significant economic changes, whether in the Industrial Revolution or in the digitalization we are witnessing today. This pattern of disruption repeats itself, and that's what is happening now with the advancement of digital technologies, cryptocurrencies, and artificial intelligence. That's why it's crucial for young people to engage with these new markets and begin to understand, study, and practice these new financial realities. This doesn't mean I'm suggesting everyone buy Bitcoin, Ethereum, or any other digital asset right now. What I'm saying is that the world is changing rapidly, and the sooner you realize and understand this transformation, the better prepared you'll be to adapt and thrive. If you are starting now and happen to fail, don't be discouraged. Get up, learn from your mistakes, and start again. Failure is part of the learning and growth process. There is no success without challenges, and it is through these challenges that we gain the experience necessary to become stronger and more resilient. The important thing is to be willing to keep going, to learn, and to reinvent yourself whenever necessary. The new American dream, or rather, the new dream of global prosperity, is no longer confined to the traditional idea of hard work in a stable, secure job. It is being redefined amidst innovation and new possibilities brought about by disruptive technologies and the digitalization of the economy. This dream now includes the freedom to choose how to generate wealth, the ability to protect oneself from inflation and financial crises, and the possibility of investing in assets that can survive and even thrive in times of economic turbulence. What's important now is to be ready to learn, adapt, and grow, even in the face of uncertainty. The future will be shaped by those who take control of their own financial destiny and who are willing to explore new investment possibilities and wealth creation opportunities. Those who resist change, who refuse to learn about these new forms of value, will be at a disadvantage. But if you are willing to change your mindset, adapt, and prepare for the future, you will have a unique opportunity to thrive in a world that, despite its difficulties, is also full of new opportunities for growth and achievement. The key to success is no longer simply following the traditional path, but rather being able to navigate the new dynamics emerging and taking advantage of the opportunities they offer. In recent years, the global financial system has undergone deep and significant changes, many of which remain invisible to the majority of the population. Since the abandonment of the gold standard in 1971, the world economy has been transforming in a way that is almost imperceptible to those who aren't paying attention to the details. What initially seemed to be just the continuation of economic cycles, with their normal fluctuations of growth and recession, actually hides a profound and systemic manipulation of the financial system that benefits a privileged minority and harms the vast majority of people. The consequences of this manipulation are subtle, yet devastating for the future economic stability of billions of people around the world. In this context, there is an urgent warning for those who wish to truly understand what is happening with money, with banks, and with the currencies that dominate global trade. Most people still believe that the financial system works in a fair and equitable manner, but the truth is that it was structured to benefit the few and sacrifice the many. Many continue to blindly trust economic policies and traditional banking structures without realizing that these very institutions are in a constant process of manipulating currency values and people's purchasing power. It is necessary to question the norms being imposed and understand the game behind the curtains of financial power. In this text, I aim to share a unique perspective which has been acquired through financial education outside of conventional standards. Most of the financial knowledge we are given, whether in schools or universities, is not designed to teach the true nature of money and how it works in the global system. The real way to understand wealth and financial systems is not in traditional academic books, but in the careful observation of market movements, critical reading of economic history, and perhaps most importantly, in the constant questioning of what is being imposed on us by economic authorities. Real financial education is one that teaches us to see the flaws and vulnerabilities in the economic system, not to simply criticize it, but to understand how it can be manipulated and exploited to benefit those who have the ability to comprehend and act intelligently. For decades, governments and central banks have created a global financial system that allows the creation of unbacked money, meaning the circulating currency is no longer supported by tangible assets like gold. This has led to an unsustainable economic scenario where unchecked money printing and manipulation of interest rates result in rising inflation and unpayable debt. We are, in practice, on a one-way path toward an imminent financial crisis that could have far more severe repercussions than we imagine. By understanding how this system works, you begin to perceive the consequences of its failures. Every time the government prints more money or central banks adopt expansionary monetary policies, there is a direct impact on the purchasing power value of all of us. Excessive money printing results in inflation, which erodes the value of our wages and savings. But more than that, it creates an environment where the rich get richer and the poor get poorer, as those with access to credit and the banking system can benefit from this currency devaluation, while those who don't have access end up being the most harmed. This is the moment to understand that the traditional financial system, dominated by big banks and governments, is in the process of collapse. The crisis is not something distant, but something already happening right before our eyes, though few can see it clearly. The transition to new forms of storehouses of value, such as gold, silver, and cryptocurrencies, is a necessary and urgent response to a reality that is becoming increasingly evident. The conventional financial system is breaking down. The cracks in the traditional financial structure, evidenced by rising inflation, mounting public and private debt, and decreasing confidence in fiat currencies, are becoming too significant to ignore. As these challenges persist, individuals and institutions alike are searching for alternatives that can provide stability and security. Cryptocurrencies, for example, represent a revolutionary attempt to create a decentralized system that does not rely on banks or governments for its operation. Blockchain technology, which underpins cryptocurrencies, enables peer-to-peer transactions with enhanced security and transparency. This has positioned cryptocurrencies as a compelling alternative for those seeking financial autonomy and protection against the volatility of traditional systems. Unlike fiat currencies that can be devalued through excessive printing, cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin have a fixed supply, making them an attractive store of value in times of economic uncertainty. Gold and silver, on the other hand, have been trusted for millennia as safe havens during financial crises. Their intrinsic value, scarcity, and universal acceptance have cemented their role as reliable assets for wealth preservation. In addition to being a hedge against inflation, these precious metals offer a tangible form of security that is immune to the vulnerabilities of digital systems. Throughout history, during periods of economic collapse or geopolitical turmoil, gold and silver have remained steadfast, providing a sense of stability when other forms of wealth faltered. What you do now from this understanding could be the key to ensuring your protection and financial growth in the future. Recognizing the warning signs and taking proactive steps to safeguard your assets is crucial. The only way to protect yourself from the imminent collapse of the traditional financial system is to understand these dynamics and begin acting strategically. This means shifting your mindset and adopting practices that prioritize resilience and adaptability. Investing in value-preserving assets is a fundamental step. By allocating resources to assets like cryptocurrencies, gold, and silver, you can create a diversified portfolio that mitigates risk and enhances long-term stability. Diversifying your income sources is equally critical, as relying solely on traditional systems can leave you vulnerable to systemic shocks. Exploring additional income streams, such as investing in innovative technologies, real estate, or decentralized finance (DeFi) platforms, can provide an added layer of security. Moreover, learning to manage your money intelligently and consciously is indispensable. Financial literacy, understanding how to allocate resources, assess risk, and identify growth opportunities is no longer optional in today's rapidly evolving economic environment. Building this knowledge will empower you to make informed decisions that align with your financial goals and safeguard your future. The traditional financial system may indeed be in its final days, but for those who are prepared, this period of transformation offers unprecedented opportunities. By embracing new technologies, adopting alternative assets, and committing to a strategy of financial resilience, you can position yourself to thrive in a changing economic landscape. Decentralized finance, for instance, is rapidly gaining traction, providing innovative solutions that challenge conventional banking models and offer enhanced returns for investors willing to take the leap. Ultimately, the challenges ahead demand a proactive and forward-thinking approach. The collapse of traditional systems does not have to signal the end of prosperity. Instead, it can mark the beginning of a new era of financial empowerment for those who are ready to adapt. By staying informed, acting decisively, and focusing on long-term stability, you can not only weather the storm but emerge stronger and more secure in the face of change.